Life in the NFL has been one hell of a ride for Teddy Bridgewater. A promising start in Minnesota that was derailed due to injuries before a short stint with the Jets that led to him being traded away to the Saints, where there he went 5-0 when Drew Brees was injured. He landed a huge contract from the Panthers, but this offseason he found himself traded again, this time to the Broncos, who he will start for in 2021. First, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Also, smack that like button so YouTube actually pushes this video out. In 2019, Drew Lock took over for the Broncos and went 4-1 as a starter, putting hope and optimism in the minds of Denver fans. That was until he fell flat on his face last year. And now, he will start his third season in the league as a backup behind Teddy Bridgewater. The quarterback competition between the two has been a hot topic this offseason, with head coach Vic Fangio even pointing out that there wasn't much separation between the two in camp. The decision really ended up coming down to the preseason, where Bridgewater couldn't have played much better. He was nearly flawless, completing all but 3 of his pass attempts and not turning the ball over. Bridgewater had 4 total possessions that resulted in 3 touchdowns and a field goal that actually came after a touchdown was called back due to an illegal hands to the face. Locke wasn't too shabby in the preseason himself though, avoiding throwing an interception and completing 66% of his passes. The Broncos going out and trading for Teddy Bridgewater kind of felt like it was the final writing on the wall for Drew Lock. Lock really didn't progress over his time with the Broncos as you would have hoped, and even now he is still terrible under pressure. While it was only a 6th round pick that the Denver Broncos actually had to give up to get Bridgewater, it did say a lot that they wanted to bring in a veteran presence instead of a younger guy with a little bit of potential. Now, Bridgewater gets to benefit from what I think is a pretty talented offense. Melvin Gordon could have a pretty big year. Philip Lindsay isn't there anymore, so that's already leaving a lot of carries on the table for Gordon to take over. Noah Fant is coming along well at tight end, but more than anything, I'm excited to see Bridgewater with this wide receiver group. Jerry Jeudy had a very good rookie year. On the other side, Courtland Sutton had a stellar second season in the league before he missed all of 2020 with a torn ACL. Plus, KJ Hamler could come into his own in his second year in the league. It's obvious that Drew Lock has more upside than Teddy Bridgewater. He's only in his 3rd year in the league, and he was a 2nd round pick for a reason, but he just wasn't showing enough improvement. Lock showed a bit of swagger and leadership, but if you can't go out and get the job done on the field, it doesn't really matter. It says a lot that the Broncos went out and traded for Bridgewater. They clearly wanted a veteran presence, or at least somebody they could rely on to bridge the gap until a new quarterback comes to town. Teddy Bridgewater is definitely the better quarterback right now, and he gives Denver the best chance to win games in 2021. He knows the feel of the pocket, and he's been in the league long enough to know what he's doing. Plus, something I think that may have been overlooked a little bit is his relationship with Pat Shurmur. The former Giants head coach was the Vikings offensive coordinator in Minnesota around the time when Bridgewater blew his knee out, so the two already do know each other pretty well. Teddy Bridgewater's career got off to a great start in Minnesota after he was drafted in the 1st round after his time at Louisville. He took over as the starter in early September as a rookie and went on to be named the Pepsi Rookie of the Year before he made the Pro Bowl the following season. Unfortunately, in an August practice in 2016, Bridgewater suffered a torn ACL with a lot of other structural damage that some thought could end his career. But after a good stint with the Saints, and maybe not the best stint with the Panthers, here he is with another starting job half a decade after the unfortunate injury. If anything is clear about the Broncos quarterback situation, it's that it needs to be addressed this offseason. It was surprising that Denver decided to pass over Justin Fields and Mac Jones to take cornerback Patrick Surtain. Maybe they didn't love Fields or Jones, which is fair, but now it does create a massive hole because you aren't going to win a Super Bowl with a guy like Locke or Bridgewater. It's almost impressive how bad John Elway has been at making quarterback decisions. He kind of inherited Tim Tebow and Kyle Orton before he went out and got Peyton Manning, which obviously worked out well, but you don't get bonus points for signing one of the best players players in league history. Everyone already knew he was a star from Indianapolis. Brock Osweiler had some flashes, and then Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch sucked, but hey, at least they were tall, I guess.
Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam.
Signing Case Keenum went horribly, same with Joe Flacco. In the past 2 years, 6 different players have started at quarterback for the Broncos. Flacco, Locke, Brandon Allen, Jeff Driscoll, Brett Rippon, and technically Phillip Lindsay. When all the Broncos quarterbacks got COVID-19 last year, Lindsay came out in the Wildcat formation, so he did technically start the game. I do actually support this decision from Vic Fangio. It didn't look like Drew Lock was going to be the long-term solution in Denver, and Teddy Bridgewater is clearly the better player right now. I think he's a guy that if you can put him in the right system with the right pieces around him to succeed, he can get the job done for you. That being said, don't expect him to carry your team on Sundays to a victory. My guess is that neither of these guys are starting in 2022. I'd expect the Broncos to look towards the draft, especially if they are horrible this season and can get a guy like Sam Howell or Spencer Rattler pretty high. The Broncos reportedly don't have any desire to move on from Drew Lock, which is, why would they? He doesn't hold much trade value, and I think he is actually a pretty good backup quarterback. I think Lock will probably end up being a career backup at this point, but he's good enough to deserve a spot in the NFL, whether that be in Denver or somewhere else. Outside of the quarterback position, I think the Broncos are actually pretty good. Von Miller will be back after a freak ankle injury in 2020, but there's a lot of playmakers on that defense throughout. Bradley Chubb at linebacker, a secondary that features a trio of Kyle Fuller, Kareem Jackson, and Justin Simmons. This is going to be the Broncos' year, but it does leave them likely going into the offseason one piece away from a team that can at least try to contend or win a division, but that's going to be a lot easier said than done in the AFC West. The Chiefs are going to continue rolling with Patrick Mahomes, and it's hard to imagine that they lose a division anytime soon, which probably means everybody else just fighting for a wild card. The Raiders have a pretty good team, but there are a lot of questions with Derek Carr and just the whole team as a whole. If I did have to pick a team from the division to make some noise in the next few years, it'd definitely be Justin Herbert and the Chargers. That does put the Broncos in a really tough spot for the future, but things could be worse than having Teddy Bridgewater as your starting quarterback, but it could be a hell of a lot better. I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing Drew Lock on the field to start at some point this year. Bridgewater's dealt with a lot of injuries in the past, and I don't think anyone in Denver has a long leash if they start struggling. Denver has a good roster with a lot of young guys, but until that quarterback void is filled, I wouldn't expect much. And unfortunately, I don't think Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock are that long-term solution. Hey, so we're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers before the start of the NFL season. So click right here to subscribe to the channel. If you don't want to, or you already do because you're freaking awesome, go ahead and click right here and watch another video.